this whole like RC. So I said this to Dave earlier today, and this is really something that I hadn't really conveyed or communicated in an authentic way, but I really, really mean this. Um, there were a lot of reasons for organizing and getting this RC member interview thing, this train moving down the tracks, but really the feel that I wanted to have was kind of like that actors on actors show
Sure.
where they get in and they do deep dives. They have some superficial stuff and keep it light and airy, but then they go deep and then they'll come back up for some air and make it refreshing. And that's always been the precipitating thought anyway of what me myself as not only as a member but also like a fan. I am a huge fan of you guys, like legit, right? So for me personally, being able to interact with you all in this type of forum, this type of venue, it's like hitting so many marks for me. So there's that for the viewers out there. Like, yeah, I mean, I am hoping that you guys are getting from this, if anything. I mean, I got to do this for me, right? But I'm hoping you're getting that same thing. Like each one of the people that come on, I've got somebody else coming on later this week that you haven't heard from. So I'm hoping that you will, not to use the term lightly, I hope that you'll fall in love with these personalities, these folks who are giving of their time, giving of their effort. We're not always perfect. We don't ever claim to be, but in engaging in this format that we love so much, and I'm hopeful that anyone watching this will, feel that communicated digitally, or however they're consuming this, if they're just letting it play in the background where they're cooking, whatever. Like I really love these guys. They're amazing. Yeah, they're amazing. They contribute so much of themselves to and giving of themselves to promoting this format and getting it to where it is. Like, it's my honor to have you. And if anything, this is a nice little private get together where I get to see all your faces and all that stuff. So
And
all
the cat.
and the cat, always the cats. So the main reason why I wanted to bring everyone together up until this point, it's been
another one.
one. Yeah, it's been one-on-one. But because this is the first one of the year, and because we've all made it such an effort to be more publicly visible and stuff like that, I only felt it fitting that getting into this new year with the popularity of the format growing and all of that stuff, that we kind of come together, like it's bringing the past forward to this point, and then we'll have the next interview being a brand new person, and then more plans in the future. So this is just kind of a nice natural place to start at the beginning of the year, reflecting on what we did previously, projecting on what we're doing in the future. That's the main reason why I wanted to have everyone together. So the format is, and of course, introductions. We have Dave, we have Scarecrow Paul, we have Derek. So if you don't know us by now, so the question that I asked these gentlemen as they were coming on is basically I wanted them to bring with them 3 questions. We're going to ask each other those questions, and I'm hopeful that you will get to know us further based on whatever silliness or seriousness or whatever comes of those questions and answers. That's my hope, is just more optics on these gentlemen here and who they are, and that's my goal. So anybody want to say anything before we get started?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome was kicking in hard during that long speech about how great we are.
I mean, you're pretty great. I mean,
I'm just here for the media clout. Subscribe to my Snapchat.
Is that
I just want to absorb up as much of
premium?
everyone's platforms as possible.
Yeah,
having
is
none of
that-
my own. So
So is that a premium?
Yeah.
Is that a premium Snap? Because I'm whipping out the flip phone right now. You know.
It's an old thing.
I'll be honest. I don't know what a Snapchat is. I don't know if it's a subscription service. I just kind of it's the first one that came into my mind when I made that joke.
Right on.
that's good enough.
You can't say subscribe to my Discord. Like that's not a thing.
Yeah.
So and that's
No.
the only social media I have. So.
Your MySpace your MySpace account.
Yeah. Subscribe to my live journal.
Oh yeah.
Oh god, we're old.
Cool.
It hurts.
So I guess I'm the host, so I'll kick off. This one is a little bit more on the serious side, so probably fitting. So I'll ask the question, and I guess we'll go around clockwise. Dave, then Paul, then Derek, and then I'll finish by answering, and then we'll move over to Dave and do the damn thing all over again. Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah.
So where do you personally want to see the format Pauper Commander go in the year 2023? Go.
I would like continued steady but not explosive growth.
Mhm.
I feel like we've been growing very steadily since as a format since 2013, as a community since 2017, 2020. I don't remember exactly when the
About
home-based community started. I feel like it kind of started when I joined.
No,
How meta.
No, I feel like we've been very steadily growing as a community for years, and I have seen a lot of formats pop into the mainstream and then just sort of collapse in on themselves.
Tiny
And
leaders.
I feel like Oathbreaker, I think is kind of still limping along a little bit, but I think that our very steady, continual, marginal month by month growth is very very healthy and very sustainable, and I just want to see that more. I would be okay if Wizards pumped the brakes a little bit on the new releases. I would forgive them for that, because 2022 was kind of berserk. But as a community, I want more steady growth. As a format, I want slightly fewer cards than we got last year.
Good luck.
That's it. Good luck.
yeah.
Thanks.
Paul?
What do you got for us, Paul?
So that Oathbreaker note was exactly what came to my mind. So I'm an engineer. That's my background. I like numbers. So with my Reddit background, I've always been looking at what's the subreddit size of Pauper Commander versus Pauper versus Oathbreaker versus EDH, blah, 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 blah. So I remember very clearly looking at the numbers whenever Oathbreaker became a thing. Calm down, cat. Whenever they were actually at half as much subscribers, if I remember correctly, as the Pauper EDH subreddit, and they just exploded. And then within 3 months, you can see their subscriber count plateau, and there is no growth after that. It is very slowly declining because people are still subscribed, but nothing's going on. There's not much happening on that community to remind them that, oh yeah, I don't care anymore. So that's what happens with kind of less active Reddit communities that aren't still growing, is they just kind of very slowly slide along. And that's what you can see on Tiny Leaders, Oathbreaker. What was the 60 card Frontier that got turned into?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Pioneer.
So that. Yeah. So whenever Wizards remade that in the form they wanted, you can see the same trend with that subreddit's subscriber growth. So I've got the numbers that show us just continuing yep, we just keep growing about the same rate. And
there's a little bit of an upward trend here in the last year, though.
Well, you can actually see it all going all the way back to 2015. We have actually been kind of on a mildly exponential curve, but it's shallow. I would love to see us get a break like Oathbreaker did. Like when that happened to Oathbreaker, I remember thinking that could happen to us and we would be able to sustain it. So while I'm happy with our growth, I think that we are ready to explode anytime it have been for years. So I don't know.
Yeah.
If it happens, it happens. If not, we'll continue to grow.
I think Oathbreaker is a pretty good comparison, simply because it's the closest thing to like a successful like multiplayer singleton format that there is, alongside Commander, like as an alternative. But I think where we have an edge is that we're more analogous to Commander, so we mimic the gameplay a lot better than Oathbreaker can. I think the idea of having a planeswalker and a spell in your command zone it turns people off in a lot of situations, whereas we kind of maintain that paradigm a lot better, and I think that makes us a lot more attractive in the long term, especially when it comes to like pulling Commander players and them expressing interest, and also 60 card Pauper players expressing interest in like 100 card Singleton as the primary casual de facto casual way to play Magic now. Like I've had a lot more success recently. Oh, sorry, I was going to finish this point real quick. I've had a lot more success recently turning 60 card Pauper players into Pauper Commander players than Commander players into Pauper Commander players. They're just a lot more interested because it's a different way to play rather than just like playing Commander and you're used to a certain way of playing, and then you're playing with cards that are not as powerful. And a lot of people aren't looking for that experience, and more power to them. But yeah, I think that the steady growth is great. I think that on a more like interpersonal side, the way that we engage about it, just having the format viewed in a positive light on Twitter is a really great like Magic space. And there's been a lot of like movement there, a lot of people showing interest. And I think it's only I think we're gonna get I foresee an Oathbreaker style increase in interest this year. I think it's inevitable.
Yeah. The comparison to Oathbreaker and how that kind of filled a niche, but then dropped off because it was too similar to EDH. There was an old Tolarian Community College video that was very dramatically titled "Why Formats Fail," and like that's the question of why play Pauper Commander is something that all four of us are so used to answering. Like it always comes up, and we always have different answers available. And I remember when I listened to that professor video, every single one of the points, it was like, oh, well, we do that successfully. We do that successfully. We avoid this pitfall. Like this format does feel built to last. Like in my head, the thing I always go back to with Oathbreaker is it wasn't different enough from EDH.
Sure.
And we do that with the different card pool for the 99.
Yeah, I think that's a huge factor. And not only that, but it also bridges the gap between Commander and limited players as well. So Pauper Commander is a great bridge between a lot of different like disparate parts of the Magic ecosystem. And with the push for Commander being, like I said, like the casual format, right? Like 60 card kitchen table Magic is no longer. Commander has taken its place for all intents and purposes. And Pauper Commander is the perfect bridge between that style of play and the other ways that people engage with the game. It's like the Venn diagram is like great.
Like, so I know I've talked about before on here with Clay, the idea that I got into Pauper Commander by wanting a budget alternative to EDH, but the other kind of catalyst for me coming in was one of my friends in Japan had a peasant cube and we played with that. And that was one of the things that kind of got me to go back and look at the like Pauper Commander-esque decks that I built for budget before and kind of like start looking at them again, and eventually like made me look for, oh, what's peasant? Oh, what's Pauper? On and on.
Right. Yeah, and it's something where like, you look at Pauper Commander as opposed to Commander, and it's something where like resources matter a lot more. You can't arbitrarily create tons of game objects. Like the interaction matters a lot more. How you use your cards matters a lot more. All these things just matter in a way that have increasingly come to not matter so much in Commander. So I think that for people who want that kind of like nuts and bolts Magic experience in that kind of more social setting, I think it's a really great draw.
Cool. So I'll agree with your point. Like looking at cards legal for regular EDH, they feel extremely like greedy. Like they get everything.
Yeah, they're being pushed real hard now.
So you don't have. I'm trying to be a little bit politically correct with what I'm about to say, because I don't want to disparage anyone for their choices, and that's not the aim. Some people like having their cake and eating it too. You know.
Yep. Great. Absolutely, they do.
Great regular commanders for you, because every set's full of staples that give you all of the things in one card. I do love the fact that at the common rarity, you have to be purposeful and intentional with what you're trying to do, because you only have 98 or 99 slots. So, with that,
go ahead. The idea of having your cake and eating it too. I remember back during the Heuristic Mystic banning discussion, like me and Crash had a really good debate on whether bombs were good for formats. And I'm very much of the opinion that bombs, if they're the only part of the game that matters, are inherently bad for consistently enjoyable gameplay. And he was of the exact opposite opinion. Bombs and the way they polarize gameplay around them, and that your whole game can succeed or fail on whether you can get this spell to resolve or get this permanent to stay on the battlefield. He enjoyed that style, and it was a very interesting debate.
That explains a lot.
I think there's something to both. Like these the cards like Mystic and Heuristic Study as like narrative devices, I think are can be really great for games. They also have the capacity to completely ruin them. So there's a line there for sure.
Okay.
Exactly. And what you're saying before, Clay, about having your cake and eating it too, like a really great example. I posted on Twitter about this this morning because it was kind of on my mind. The other night I was playing Commander, just normal Commander at the LGS, like a random pickup group, which I've had a lot of success with since I've started going to the shop. And I was already dead by this point, but there were two players left. One was playing a Chatterfang deck. I don't know if you know what Chatterfang. Whenever you make a token, it makes a squirrel alongside that token. And you can sacrifice squirrels to give things -X, where X is the number of things you sacrifice or whatever. So it's like an aristocrat's deck. He's making a lot of tokens, sacrificing tokens, this, that, the other. The other guy's playing a deck. I forget what the commander was, but the point is at the end of the game, he had 15 squirrel tokens with 2 1/1 counters on them each. So 15 3/3s basically. And the Chatterfang player just had some squirrels and like a Pitiless Plunderer and a Bootlegger stash, so he could tap his lands to make treasures, in turn making a squirrel. He had an Essence Warden as well, and the guy with the 15 3/3 is just like, I have an inevitability, I can just kill him. But what he didn't realize was that for every land he tapped to make a treasure, the Chatterfang player made a squirrel, gained a life. None of those tokens had trample. He could block them for days. He had an attrition. He could sacrifice all of his squirrels at no cost to kill all of his creatures. And he could outpace however many creatures this guy could play, no matter what they did. He could just outpace them so easily, because generating all of these game objects was free and arbitrary, and there was no cost to doing it. That's a big problem I have with like Aristocrats decks and Commander, is that like it should matter what you choose to sacrifice and for which effects to achieve which means, you know. And in Pauper Commander, we get that. Like the cards are just not at the level to which like you just have arbitrary level like amounts of tokens. Like you have a set amount that you can use, and you can recycle some creatures for some things, but there's a limit on it. So you have to be very intentional about how you use your resources to drain people out with a Falkenrath Noble or Elisal Core if that's your commander, or any number of effects that key off of that. And in Commander, there's no cost to doing it. In Pauper Commander, it's a lot more strategic, and it matters a lot more how you use your resources. And I think that's much more compelling gameplay. I feel like when things don't matter, it's hard to be invested in the game. So I think saying.
Okay, so from my perspective, what I would like for 2023, and I've actually been spending the majority of 2022 working on it, is I want Friday Night Magic in LGSs with Pauper Commander.
That'd be sweet.
I want 90-minute rounds. I want some loose, three round structure. Just something not really seriously, competitively organized and structured, but just 3 rounds starting at 6. Everybody plays into the night. That sort of thing. That's what I want, and it's already. Truth be told, it's already starting to happen in some of the larger cities that have a high density of card shops, like Philly and New York and that sort of stuff. We're already seeing competitive Pauper Commander being played at LGF and featured at LGSs. So
that's kind of what I've been working on the last few months too. Is that paper matchmaking channel in the Discord? Like I've got searches that I run all the time, just like Facebook search Pauper EDH, Pauper Commander, and I'll find these posts from this LGS or that LGS. Just hey, here's the events we're doing this week. Oh, and Thursday is Pauper Commander, and so I'll just go through the information, like with the event link, with the Google Maps link, and like some other stuff that makes it searchable. Just trying to game stores are picking up Pauper Commander as a format and trying to host it, and I'm not sure what kind of success rate they're having, but we have that going on. While we've also had, for years, I've been seeing people here and there on social media saying that, I'm not going to get into Pauper Commander, or I haven't tried playing it because there's no one at my local store that does. I don't have anyone to play with in paper.
So you're trying to
just bring them together.
So that's
absolutely.
That's my goal this year, is to, not that we're legitimate's not the word, because we are already a legitimate format and we are legitimately being played in LGSs and stuff like that. I'm hoping to standardize. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm hoping to standardize it's like a startup package. The vernacular's escaping me, but basically. I want somebody to reach out to me and say, "Hey, Clay, I want to do this in my LGS. What do I need?" Well, here you go. Checklist. Boom, boom, boom. That's how you do it.
Yep.
Good luck. Have fun.
Yeah. I think the best thing to start is just to find people and like you're saying, Paul, just start playing. Like that's been the biggest thing for me. Like the store that I go to, that I play at, has a really good, solid 60 card Pauper core players that meet every week. And those are the ones who have been expressing interest, like organically. I didn't bring it up at all. I just saw that they were talking about it in a channel one time in the store's Discord, and I just jumped in. It's like, ask me all your questions. I'll give you all the resources you need, that kind of thing. And then slowly just kind of got to the point where, most weeks we could probably field like a 4-player pod. I go once a week. They have Commander nights 3 times a week. But the night that I play, most of the time we can reasonably get 4 players, and that's really sweet. And then when playing, then more people will see what you're doing. People ask about it, and that's a good way to kind of just explain what you're doing and see if it piques their interest. Just presenting it on its face and saying this is what this is, and it may interest you to give it a try.
Sweet. Dave, you got your question ready?
I do. I have a bit of a head scratcher here, so buckle in.
Thank God I'm last, or next to last.
Here's the question. A lot of the rules that we utilize in PDH come, at least in part, from tradition, in a sense of this is how we've always done this is what it's based off of, kind of a thing. So my question is, hypothetically, if you could alter the history of the format so that if you could change a part of the rules in such a way that it had always been different and it had always been this way, what rule would you change, or how would you change the format if you could say that it had always been that way?
Counterpoint: does it have to be changing our format?
I don't know. That's what I imagined. This is the only format I play. So, do you want to change a different format? What do you want to change?
I think our format's perfect.
Good. That's a good answer.
Okay, and we're signing off, folks. Good job.
No, I mean, I didn't create it this way. I had no part in determining, uncommon creature, doesn't matter if it's legendary. I had no part in determining life tools. Like this isn't like patting myself on the back. Like I can't think of any base fundamental about the format that I would change. So like my frustration is more so with the preconceived notions that people bring from other formats. Like I'm at my core, I'm a very rules-oriented person. I come into a new setting and I want to know how things are done, and then I go by that. So just at my core, I get kind of frustrated when people come in and want to change everything. So So
yeah,
I'm just thinking about all the people that come in and be like, why doesn't it have to be legendary?
right. Yeah, I mean that's kind of, I think, and I mean I kind of am in a similar boat with Paul in that, like, I think everything about how we've structured the rules for the format fits very well. And it's like a really great fitting puzzle, the way that we put everything together. And a lot of that work was done for us. So, kudos to all the little like PDH tribes around the internet, circa 2009 to 2015 or whatever. But if there was one thing I could change for the sake of like alternate history, I would really like to have seen the format evolve from you have to have a legendary as your commander, because I think it would be sweet to have everybody's like compendium of like Riven Turnbull decks. Or here's the comprehensive list of like everybody's Barktooth Warbeard decks. I think that would be pretty funny, like in a different universe, because those cards are like really cool. They like the flavor text on all these cards fills up the whole text box, and they have really great art, and they're really great aesthetic pieces. And that's just more like a vanity thing for me. I think that would be really sweet, but I think the way that everything shook out, I'm a very like practical utilitarian kind of person, so like. Again, like it's so perfect that it ended up being just any uncommon creature as your commander, because that also ended up being like one of the biggest selling points for the format. I did an interview recently, and like that was like the biggest kind of light bulb thing for the individual I was talking to, was that like it's so much more. It's such a different experience from commander, because it's such a unique set of cards you can have in the command zone. But again, like Riven Turnbull is the dopest thing I've ever seen. Like the art is great, the flavor text is great, the card tells a story. Like these things are all just great. Those uncommon legendary creatures from Legends are just some of my favorite like magic pieces ever made. So
I think Riven Turnbull is the second best. I think Lady of the Mountain hasn't beat.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Part of the reason I say this is because I like you wanted to see what this format would look like if it was Legends only, and I had this thought in 2013, and so I built the Lady of the Mountain deck, and it is
hell yeah
garbage. It is gross, but I love it so much.
I may do something similar. I've had it in the back of my mind. Like I talk about Riven Turnbull a lot because it's my favorite legend, basically from Legends.
He taps for
again,
mana.
like
that card is so good.
He's a 7 mana 5/7 that taps for a black mana or blue mana. I think, I don't know, but yeah, exactly. You just got to ramp to 7, and then you can ramp to 9 on your 8th turn.
So easy,
but
so easy.
Yeah, but no, like the flavor text on the card and the art. I for funsies sake, I put together a list years ago of just like a very in there's that folk horror trope of like the village where everybody's part of a cult and everything's just slightly off. I made a deck themed around that idea. So like a lot of the creatures were like town folk from like Innistrad, like Manic Scribe and Tooth Collector and all of these like cards that are kind of like sort of like haunting, and then like some cosmic horror-y kind of elements, like all of the tomes, like Book of Wrath and like all of these artifacts, Necropolis, life scalpel, like these sorts of things. And built the deck with Riven Turnbull at the helm, and that was a very like cool aesthetic deck that I built. But yeah, I just love those cards, and I think it would be sweet if people played with them, but they won't, and that's fine. But in my mind, I think it would be cool.
The aesthetic I leaned into with Lady of the Mountain deck is that Lady of the Mountain is the smallest creature in the deck.
Oh, she sure is.
Like
that's funny.
Wise or like mana cost body wise?
Body.
I like that a lot.
The deck is like a dozen ramp spells, a dozen like it's a couple fights, a couple like combat tricks, and then it's like 40 cards that are all just creatures that are bigger
I don't
than
know.
Lady of the Mountain.
There's so much cool stuff you can do with these cards. Another one that I had an idea for, and this is like a commander thing, not a pauper commander thing, but Lady Orca, the original Lady Orca, the 7-mana 7/4. I wanted to make a
demon, right?
Yep, that's right. I want to make a black-red deck themed around Friday the 13th, where it would have Meraxis of Keld altered to be Jason, and Lady Orc would be altered to be Pamela Voorhees. And then the deck would be filled with all of those thematic spells and effects, Trusty Machete, Fear, Panic, these sorts of cards. Murder, all that stuff. And just make like a really cool like Vorthos narrative deck. I think that would be really cool.
Is there a card called Intimidating Visage that's
yes, I have, pretty sure. Is that Broken Visage? Yeah. Oh, yes. I know what you're talking about. I don't know if that's the exact name of the card, but I know the card you're talking about.
It's like a red card.
Hideous Visage?
Imposing Visage.
Yeah,
that's
there
the
you
one.
go.
That's the
Foglio art.
Nice.
Yeah.
I associate that with it's got the Foglio art where like a bunch of people are freaking out about something in the hood.
Imposing
classic stuff.
That's a very different art than I saw. The 4th edition art is a hilarious goblin scaring a knight.
Oh, that's also very good. Yeah, no, I'm thinking of the Ice Age art on Imposing Visage. Listeners, please go look it up.
Please do. But that's my answer. So I'll pass to Clay.
Jesus, how in the hell do I follow all of that up? So okay. So to touch on a few points, something Derek said about thank you to all those disparate groups out there who are that really hones in on the fact that this format was originally crowdsourced, right? So it wasn't.
It's a true community format.
It wasn't built by a cabal. It wasn't. Now it may be thrust upon you like a cabal, but but I know down.
That's the quiet part. Right? We don't say that
out loud. One of us.
So yeah, the fact that this is uniquely a community format that at a later time, some very highly motivated individuals went around, started collecting bobs and bits and formulating and assimilating, and all of that really didn't really stop until recently, right, Paul? So it's a decade's worth of effort to congeal and consolidate and really bring all of these interesting parts from the community together into a singular. Now, that said, in the spirit of Dave's think bomb about changing the format, okay, so as a solely competitive guy, I'm all about tools and commons. Like when Dave asked the question, the obvious answer to me is the access to commons in the command zone, but that has nothing to do with my will, my whim, what I think the format should be, all that stuff. That's strictly from the perspective of I'm a tools guy and I want access to tools. So it doesn't have any weight behind it. It's just
You're just saying you wish we had even more possibilities than we currently do.
Correct.
Yeah. And so I remember back when we were debating it, one of the specifically common backgrounds, common commanders, kind of two of these opposing arguments were more things are better. Some people started with their pod playing with common commanders and they should be, represented in the fold as well, versus, okay, you have new people that are very overwhelmed because now instead of 6,000 possibilities on common creatures, now there's 15,000 plus creatures to choose from. Like, just it's more overwhelming and therefore slightly more intimidating. There's a little more of a barrier to entry to people. But I guess the thought I just had that never really occurred to me before is 6,000 is already intimidating to a lot of people. So there's kind of are we really losing anything also? So, yeah.
So, and that's the thing. I'm not suggesting one way or the other whether or not the format would be improved or whether it would be worse or anything. It's just a hypothetical. You know, I would want more. I'm going to always fight for more tools. You know, so.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dave.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I think that's
just doing
fine.
the same thing I do in our discussions on the Discord. I'm always the devil's advocate that's just poking holes in things. It's a problem. Please help.
I will not
send cookies. Yeah.
I gave up helping the devil long ago.
By help, do you mean get some popcorn? Because
yeah,
I'm ready to watch you.
I'm just stirring the pot.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. I came here to be entertained, and you did not fail to deliver.
There you go.
Yeah. My thoughts on this question. So when I wrote this question, I didn't know it was going to get turned back on myself.
Yep.
So that was a surprise to me at the start of this recording.
Interrogator play. Interrogator play. Yes.
Now I have regrets, but I think I'm just going to cop out and say that I think my answer is a weird mix of everyone else's. I think that in many ways our format is perfect. I think that it is the rules come together to form this really beautiful thing. This has been probably my number in terms of hobbies that I possess. This has been very consistently my number one passion project for the last 10 years. And it's because the rules are so fundamentally like perfect from the beginning. There are things that I like toying with and tinkering with and saying, well, what if it was different? I don't know that I would want those to be codified into completely different sets of rules. Like I don't know if I would want to change that on a fundamental level, because I'm sure that it would have repercussions far beyond what I'm originally imagining. But and to that point, like I have unlimited access to Rule 0. So like all of these things that I want to tinker with and I want to play with, like I do. I've never walked into a PDH game where I was like, hey, what if we did something different? Or what if I bent this rule a little bit, and had people tell me no? Like no one has ever told me no, and I don't think it's because they know who I am. Like this isn't like it's Alkadron, he gets to do what he wants. Like it's not that. It's like no one has ever told me no, and I'm confident that they would have had the same reaction to anyone asking this. This is my sincerely held belief, and so I choose to change nothing.
Since we breached the topic of Rule 0, I would like to make something like completely and utterly and totally clear, and it actually speaks directly to the perfection, not only of this format, but the community that has developed. Now, I'm not talking us, I'm talking everyone else. Like, we don't have casual players disparaging competitive players. We don't have competitive players disparaging casual players.
It's starting to creep in. I saw some on the Reddit like this week.
Ban them, shame them, tar and feather them. But by and large, we all understand like the goals, the motivations of the other in this relationship. And on the flip side of that, these gentlemen here absolutely understand. They may or may not play competitive at all. Some of the time, hell, all the time. You know, whatever their level of playing competitive Magic is, don't think for 1 second that they don't have competitive players in mind whenever we're talking about something, you know, fighting over something or what have you. And then likewise, like I'm with Dave, like damn the RC, you know, play what you want to, like, you know, like love is love, PDH is PDH, bro, you know, like do your damn thing, right? So like I'm not at your kitchen table, you know, watching you over your shoulder. I mean, unless you pay me, but that's a premium service. so, right. So like with the Rule 0 thing, I understand that like competitive players like myself, we're beholden to the rules, and it's really difficult to formulate that into an LGS experience, we got you, boo. We're working on it, that sort of thing. So
that's beautiful, but now I have to delete my third question. So thanks.
What a jerk.
So the idea of we wouldn't change the rules. I remember when CPAH really started picking up on the Discord, there was a moment in time where questions were brought up of, is 3016 still good for the format? And I remember there were some people that were very strongly advocating. I want to say Ryan was one of them, but I really don't remember well enough to say for sure.
I think I chimed in to that conversation a little bit too, because at the time, the meta looked different.
It was so much more grindy and combo focused that the turn count till the end of the game was going long, and there was some interest in 25 life would put a little bit of a damper on combo and bring out aggro in its viability. And just I had that in mind when I was listening a while back. I think it was when you interviewed Alk on here, and you all were talking about what's the CPDH meta look like? You talked about Bird Horse, and then Clay was talking about how aggro has we were in a mid-range meta, and then there was a time when aggro was really becoming more viable, and now it's gone kind of back more towards combo. But just the idea that we didn't change life total, it's still at 30, and both mid-range and aggro have been viable and dominant at a time, and the average turns per game is continuing to decrease.
I just said this today. Once again, Ryan and I have yet to do our 2022 metagame summation stream, but in the month of December, we broke the 10-turn barrier. We're sitting at 9.9 turns.
Yep.
So
what I was...
Yeah, go ahead.
What I was saying earlier about, we didn't create this. We were given it by the people who figured it out and kind of started merging various playgroups. And I'm just kind of struck by that serendipity of how well everything works out. I'm just continuously finding those things again and again, oh, this is actually perfect. Surprise.
Yeah, I mean, you find a lot of this in Commander too, people who think that they can do the rules committee's job better than they can, which is a laughable concept. These people, I don't know. There's a lot of animosity towards the Commander Rules Committee. I think that they are very, very, very few, very not often do they make decisions that I find to be particularly faulty. But it turns out I think that to kind of go back to what you're saying, I don't think people know how to build aggro decks in 100 card singleton multiplayer formats. Honestly, 95% of the time. I don't think they do. And so as people figure it out, you see it pop up more and become successful. And I think that's what we saw for a while.
Dargo helps. Dargo helps a lot.
Yeah. I think Gatorbait's work in the aggro space has been very formative to where we are now and kind of where everything's moving. I think he's a really important figure in that area.
Mm-hmm.
I spent years championing the Slaughter Master deck, and it went nowhere because that deck is terrible.
Yeah,
but I did try
after it kills someone.
Yes. So after turn 2, it's a garbage deck. It's got no redeeming qualities left.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Paul,
yeah.
Your question, you're up.
So just kind of going back to what Clay was talking about at the beginning, we are personalities in our own right, whether we feel comfortable with that or not. But outside of the Pauper Commander sphere, who are some of your all's favorite Magic personalities, and specifically, what do you look up to, admire, enjoy about them?
Okay. So probably the biggest kind of influence on how I've come to approach the game has been Shivam Bhatt. He's a part of the Commander advisory group. He has a podcast called Casual Magic, where he talks to people about Magic, and not particularly in any competitive or casual capacity necessarily, but just chats with people about why they love Magic. And I think that if you're going to engage in a healthy way with the format, either Commander or Pauper Commander, it's really important to just listen to how people who love the game talk about what they love about the game. And it really, I've referred to it kind of in passing as the Rosetta Stone of understanding Commander as a format, because it is a format that's born out of people just loving playing Magic and nothing else really, and wanting to express themselves through Magic. So just listening to people talk about the game, what they love about the game, and how they play the game to channel what they love about it has done wonders for the way that I approach it, the way that I kind of view Pauper Commander, how the format is developing, the way that people talk about the format, those sorts of things. I found it tremendously influential on how I've kind of broadened my horizons. So that'll be my answer.
God, I feel kind of at a loss. I don't have anyone contemporary. Now, Shivam, I do see his post and stuff on. I really like his random card that he posts that he tweets. So, but as far as like that's more of an entertainment value versus influence. So sadly, it's been a while. So if you remember when
you can say Meekley if you want.
So privately, I do all the time. So as far as like mainstream Magic personalities, the one I still kind of like default to is Karsten. So Frank, is that his first name? Karsten. He's a German.
The math guy. Yeah.
So
yeah.
So ironically,
Frank,
there you go. Yeah. Ironically, one of my favorite Magic personalities of all time is a German mathematician. Let that sink in. So back when I used to play Modern uber competitively, like grind, I was playing Affinity for one. And
he's done a lot of work with Affinity.
And it was at the time that like TCG Player and Star City Games and all those places were making articles and that sort of content. And Frank was the last person that I can think of that I was truly excited for their content to come out. So
yeah.
Now that said, I'm always excited whenever you guys publish something, but I know you, so it's not. I've seen behind the veil, baby. You know?
We're not special anymore.
Yeah. I've already had the milk from this cow.
I really need to get some more stuff down. I've been slacking off.
It's all right.
Me too.
So yeah, probably Frank Karsten. Like everyone else I can think of. I don't know, like after a while, a lot of the mainstream people fall either one of two ways: wholesome or not wholesome. You know, they're pricks, and they're just doing it for the paycheck and all of that stuff. So that's my answer. Final answer, Dave.
I have never consumed any media that's Magic related.
So me, of a chunk of the community.
A what?
Representative of a large chunk of the community.
Yeah, right. Like I was never big into the competitive scene. I tried to go to a tournament once when I was 12. I took a deck full of Goblin War Buggies into into combo Winter Standard. That was like the last tournament that I ever meaningfully cared about.
What they don't tell you is Grim Monolith can't block.
Well, I mean, I got in a couple damage with the Goblin War Buggies, but like, I feel like this is a weird side effect of like, I don't think this is representative of the meta circa 1997, but like when I went to this, I was a 12-year-old kid with a Goblin War Buggy deck going to a tournament full of combo winters and people doing Tolarian Academy, Stroke of Genius U for 400 on turn 3 or whatever. So like I was able to
Yeah.
get a couple attacks in with a war buggy, but like I played in this tournament for 3 rounds, and every single round I got paired up with just an absolute sack of dicks who would yell at me for play mistakes and like never smile at me. Never, there was no positive interaction in any of them. One of them yelled at me because I tried to use a different dice than him to roll to go first. Like he pulled out his 10-sided dice and rolled it. And I was like, "Oh, I just bought a 10-sided die that's cylindrical. Let me roll that one instead." And he's like, "Yours might be rigged. We have to roll the same dice." And I was like, "Chill, man. I'm 12. Like, what do you want from me?" Like, so that was, I mean, completely aside from whether or not Grim Monolith can block my Goblin War Buggy, I just had a profoundly miserable time at my first ever like real Magic tournament. So like, I spent the next like 15 years playing exclusively casually. So I was never like.
That's how I was with LGSs in general for a long time, because I remember the first Magic product I ever bought. I bought a Precon in store and immediately like, "Hey, I see you just bought a deck," and then I proceeded to get like Darksteel Colossus on like turn 3 by someone. So yeah, that's
good.
Part of the reason why my first 10 years of Magic didn't have a lot to do with a store.
Yeah. So I was going to stores at the time. Like I was engaged. I was very engaged with my local community, but like I was so checked out of anything and everything competitive for like multiple decades that the idea that I would like watch someone on YouTube explain how to draft better, like that was just a completely foreign concept to me. And the idea that I would watch someone talk about like what sets were coming out, like I went to every single pre-release. I was actually a very skilled limited player, so I was going to those events and just like learning how to do those like on my own. But like the concept of consuming other people's media just was never appealing to me at all until like a year ago when y'all started making media, and I was like, "Man, these PDH guys are on fire! Like, I need to get more of this in my life." And now I'm tuned into the, the common connoisseurs. Obviously, make incredible stuff. I try to check out the Hex Drinkers podcast with their House of Commons. I read all of Scarecrow's articles. I read. Derek hasn't written an article in a hot minute that I
haven't written an article for Pauper Commander in about 5 years.
But I like your articles.
Yeah,
I've read your articles.
I'm going to start doing it more
5 years ago.
That's on the slate of things to start doing again, because I have written about Commander in the last year or so. I have a WordPress web blog that is linked on my Twitter that I've written about Commander like maybe 7-ish times or so. I don't know exactly, but I wanted to start doing more about Pauper now that I'm a lot more engaged than I have been.
You absolutely should. And like that, you said Twitter, and that reminded me. Like, I guess the other part of my answer is like I'm not on Twitter. Like my social media consumption is so incredibly limited that like when when the professor drops a new video, like I have no idea. Like I have no way to find out about this. I'm a very
online individual. Like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, it also varies by platform. Like Twitter makes people feel closer to, more involved with the like top level personalities, compared to Reddit, where anonymity is like the founding principle of being a user.
Right.
See, I'm extremely disconnected from media personalities, media consumption. I've never done. No, Scarecrow, come back. This is your question. I've never engaged with that at all. So.
Hey,
welcome back.
We found
welcome
you.
back. I finished answering your question while you were gone. It was a really profound summary of what I've said. And you missed it, but now
he even gave out his social security number. It was awesome.
Yeah, you'll have to watch the recording for that one.
Yeah.
What's your answer to your own question?
Sheldon, definitely. Like I know that's kind of I guess the obvious answer for a lot of people, but
that's a good answer.
A lot of us just kind of bumbled into being where we are. We didn't come here because of any grand ambition for ourselves.
Yes.
So it's not like we had experience with dealing with being a notable figure that people would try to hold accountable for various reasons. And just how he holds it all together despite a lot of baseless negativity being thrown his way is absolutely incredible. And I think that's been discussed before on the Common Connoisseurs about like Gavin Verhey and some other people like that are in much the same position where they're blamed for everything under the sun. And I'm very much a people pleaser at heart. I like making people happy. So like, oh no, this one person on Reddit told me that I suck and that I'm dumb and I don't know what I'm doing. Like,
It was me.
Yeah.
well, I mean, it's so easy to just say, oh, just, don't worry about it. But when it's actually happening to you, like that was a really difficult thing for me to confront. And I took a lot of inspiration from Sheldon and how he deals with the community. And
that's kind of like a big thing. I mean, just kind of, like you said, I mean, we kind of found ourselves in this position, and not like we're just a bunch of idiots who decided to call ourselves a rules committee just for the heck of it. Except for Dave, he was the only one. We needed an idiot to trot out when we made an unpopular decision. But I think a lot of it is just trying to find where our personal strengths can kind of strengthen the group and kind of give it credence. Like for me, a lot of what I do in my day job, I'm a client care guy. I've been doing it for a very long time. So I take a lot of effort in communicating, trying to effectively communicate things to people. And I think that's like something that we need to be very careful at doing. So it's been really great to, particularly with the, every time the backgrounds discussion rears its ugly head, being able to like clearly lay out like, this is what this decision means. This is why we made this decision. And this is why it makes sense that we did so. Like that kind of stuff. And like, Paul, like your ability to like handle data and track those kind of heuristics is really valuable. And Dave just being like a face is really important too. Not everybody can do that. I certainly can't. I don't have the patience for it.
The idiocy.
Yeah, you're just a clown, and everyone loves a good clown. And then we brought on Clay because we needed an army guy to whip us into shape. So everybody has their role to play. And so it's been really great finding how we all fit into that puzzle, and we're it's certainly discovering that we certainly do, I think, belong in the position that we're in.
Well, knowing what everybody does here, for their jobs, not specifically, but like the field that they're in. It really all makes sense. Like the contributions that you bring to the table are almost entirely centered in your expertise. So
yeah,
I thought it was hilarious when one of the Pauper Dual Commander guys asked me if I had a background as a lawyer, because I'm always nitpicking or wording on everything.
Yeah, but from a design perspective, you need that.
Well, I mean, also my job the last like 2.5 years or so has been incredibly social, where I'm just like constantly like corralling people and getting them to do what I want, just on large projects, and like constantly putting out fires. Like, I need this now. And like going back to Sheldon, like looking at him helps me not bring in like the pushiness that I needed for my work, and trying not to bring that into like how I interact with the Pauper community as much. Like using that as something to aspire to keep me a little more grounded.
Yeah, well, that's an important thing. Like, and yeah, I mean, you just have to be grounded. I think it's perfect. Like, the imposter syndrome stuff is certainly a factor, because we're just normal people who are just kind of, again, we just started doing this thing.
Speak for
so
yourself.
It's just about figuring it out. Clay, that's true. Clay's been on various rules committees for Magic formats going back 20 years. So, he is a professional.
I was 5 years old. Yeah.
That's right. Doing
I feel like you need a giant /S right here.
The Mirage Draft Rules Committee member Clay. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, it's figuring it out, and I think to our credit, we've done a really good job with the decisions that we've made, and I don't see us running any huge issues. We all get along fairly well and work together when we need to, at least. So, I'm optimistic there. I don't think there's any issues.
Yeah. Sweet. I think Derek's up. And how
fitting?
I'm
gonna my question. What's fitting, Clay?
59 minutes 32 seconds. So we're an hour in and getting to the fourth question.
Yeah, I didn't feel bad about
question-
deleting my third one.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Whatever. My question is not about like inside baseball of philosophical rules committee stuff. I just want to talk to you guys about mono green, in casual, all the way up to competitive. I love mono green. I didn't realize it until I started like brewing it, and I just want to get you guys' opinions, like where you think it is, what you think it needs, what you think is awesome about it beyond just like comboing out with Teamer Sabretooth, which is like the only thing that people like to do in mono green, I think.
I'm glad I'm first up because I spent a couple of hours today talking about mono green. Number one, there was a recent downshift that I think has some legs in Terravor, and
I love Terravor.
In competitive, kind of filling out
Hold that thought. This is my Terravor. It's a foil.
Just need a few more multilateral mill cards. Just more Ghoul Caller's Bell and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I've been playing with it a little bit, building a deck around it. It's a fun one. I mean, I played on stream with Brad and Lobert and those folks, and I played Terravor. Oh no, this was the time when Brad wasn't there. I was with Orion, and it was bad, and like I wasn't able to reliably put lands in my graveyard, but it was still just like casually an 8/8, and everybody had to kill it all the time. So like it worked pretty well.
Well, I mean, so to that point, this is exactly why I feel like it has legs. Just easily, just a 3 mana or 5 mana or 7 mana, 8/8. That's nothing to scoff at. Nothing to scoff at with trample, by the way. So, I firmly believe that there is room for green, and we're just waiting for a knight in shining armor to show up with his foil Terravor, and
I have one of those. I think it's great because like it's a space where like a lot of the low hanging fruit has been kind of picked already. Like people have identified Teamer Sabretooth as being like an obvious one. Wirewood Symbiote to a lesser degree, but like still doing a lot of the same things.
This is exactly why, to that point, I'm not a huge fan of like even decks that I've built that are good, bad, or indifferent. I don't try to corner the market on Malcolm Dargo or anything like that, because to your point, low hanging fruit. Like, I mean, yay, you beat all the the 5-year-olds to the finish line, you high schooler. Good job.
That's right. We figured out how to make infinite mana with a Teamer Sabretooth.
It's the honing of those decks over time and all of that stuff. That's And
not to clown on those decks too much, but like they're good roadmaps for like things that you can do and that you can iterate off of with other commanders. Like a lot of the work that I'm doing in Heritage Shoot, I think can be foundational to a lot of mono green stuff, because a lot of the ideas that I'm playing with, regardless of the like competitiveness of the deck list itself, like a lot of the ideas that I have going into that deck are certainly things can be expounded upon in other ways. It's just about kind of exploring it and kind of keeping track of the more abstract stuff and like building that stuff out as you find better fits for those ideas over time.
And all you need is one breakout card. Right? Sometimes it'll be fragile, but one breakout card.
Yeah.
Dave?
I love mono green for very different reasons than the two of you do, I think. I
guarantee you I love it for all the same reasons you do too.
Oh, good. Excellent. I'm going to talk about a couple reasons that are profoundly stupid, so buckle in. One of my first ever PDH decks was Rabid Wombat, which is one of the worst cards ever printed, and I love it so much. It's a 4-mana 0/1 with Vigilance.
That's on rate for Chronicles.
Legends? Right? Legends. It got reprinted.
No. Only
Chronicles.
I only recognize the Chronicles versions of the Legends cards. I like my white borders, man. I like my borders to be as white and pearly as possible.
I like the Chronicles white border. I like that the Legends printing didn't figure out the template, so the words on the Legends card are literally Wombat gets +2/+2.
Nonsense. Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah, it's a 4-mana 0/1 that gets +2/+2 for each aura on it with Vigilance. And that's my deck. It's so bad. And I didn't build another mono green deck until Sir Farron came out. And I built a Sir Farron.
I like that card a lot too.
Farron is a 2-mana 2/2. He's the green legendary knight from Eldraine. 2-mana 2/2 with the ability when he attacks, another attacking creature gets +X/+X, where X is his power. So I built a deck. I was like, we can get this mathematically perfect. What we need here is 33 1-drop creatures that can attack, 33 forests, and 33 ways to make Farron bigger. It's mathematically perfect. There's nothing else to the deck except for these things. And that's the whole. Turn 1, you play an attacker. Turn 2, you play Farron. Turn 3, you make it big. You get your 3 forests.
Beautiful.
That's it. It is the most brain dead thing I've ever done. And then in Commander Legends, they gave us Wilson and Hardy Outlander.
Yeah. Oh boy, talk about brain dead. Yeah.
Which is the exact same deck.
Yeah, and
that's awesome.
That style of either something else's power buffs the commander, or the commander's power buffs something else. Like I've played a lot of those similar decks. Tuya Bearclaw, yeah. Gruul Beastmaster, I think is another one. There's also a Golgari one that's like a 4-drop that's mono green. And
there's also a couple of the cards like when they attack, they give your whole board plus whatever plus whatever.
But yeah, like I think Farron is my favorite of those. Like it felt like the most effective.
We use the Henchhammer. Can't argue with the Henchhammer.
When I built the deck on Moxfield, I named it Sir Farron is the bear, because I have this running gag where like Sir Farron, like the artwork depicts like a dude with a hammer like riding on the back of a bear, and like I always joke that the bear in the artwork is Sir Farron and the human is just his handler, but like a squire that follows him around. And now that we have Wilson and Hardy Outlander, like Sir Farron really is the bear. It's real now.
Cards like Sir Farron I really like because for a while I had this idea to build a Mr. Orfeo commander deck with all the effects of when this creature attacks, it gives another creature plus whatever, where X is equal to its power, whatever. All those effects. So that when you attack, it's like this trigger targeting this trigger, target, trigger. So you have like at one bajillion ball lightning or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, just like just
Orfeo with
a deluge of triggers. Orfeo's sweet. And then like Orfeo. Yeah, all that stuff's awesome. I mean, I love all that stuff. One of my favorite mono green things recently has been Sarenth Steelseeker from Brothers War. I don't know if you know this card.
It's a cool card.
It's a 1/2 for 2. Yeah. I think you're for a little bit. Yeah, whenever an artifact enters, you look at the top card of your library. If it's a land, you put it in your hand. Otherwise, you may put it into the graveyard. He's I don't know exactly what he's doing, but he's a little man digging for things in the forest. And what the best thing about that deck is that it gives you an outlet. If you're the kind of player that likes to say, point at your commander and say trigger, then like that's the deck for you. Because boy howdy does it do that a lot. That was like the most fun thing. You just power level aside, you're just constantly looking at the top of your deck, and you get to decide if you put it in your graveyard or not. And that's fun in and of itself. Like those tactile elements of Magic, like tapping your cards, tapping your lands, playing spells, moving things from top to graveyard, cascading, just flipping things off the top, like those motions, that kinetic aspect of it is, something that people don't consider in terms of like what they might find fun about their favorite decks. But like that's certainly a factor. I like that stuff a lot.
I read a book a long time ago about how young children learning mathematics was fundamentally a kinetically embodied experience, and I was like, that doesn't sound anything like the mathematics I know. But I read the book, and they actually make a lot of really compelling arguments that are very similar to what you said. Like there's a lot of tactileness to the process of learning these things, and like
that
now I'm
with teaching with board games, like
you
got the physical elements.
So like I, in a weird twist of fate, I had never before like decided to focus that lens on Magic, but now that you said it, I'm thinking about it, and I think that you're right in every conceivable way. So thank you for putting that into my head.
Yeah, you got it. I feel like I'm putting a lot of dangerous ideas in your head lately.
You could put more ideas into my head faster if you sent me more articles.
Hey, I'll get out the Ice HQ. Put a lot of weird ideas in your head.
Yes,
the list is online. I'll link it to you. Did I link you the list?
I think you might have. I don't.
Maybe I posted it in the PDH Pod Discord somewhere. I'll send it to you. It's a banger. Yeah,
it looks like it. I want to hear what
All right.
Paul has to say about mono green.
Yeah, me too.
as I've gone through on the PDH pod, my history in Magic is very much as a Timmy for the first decade of my Magic experience. I started in Mirrodin, and then I had an artifact deck for a long time, but everything else I had for like a good 8 years, the effective decks were all green nonsense. You ramp, you play big stuff, and it kills people. Because I didn't have a lot of like, I didn't really understand card advantage at a fundamental level. So for a younger kid that's playing, it's very easy to see big creature. It's scary. People react to it, and it gives you a good feeling because they're scared of your thing. And on a card mechanics level, a creature constantly attacking is accumulating value as long as it doesn't die. So
well, also, if you kill a player with 7 cards in their hand, you're effectively up 7 cards on that player.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's card advantage.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like the. Wait, is that like the green version?
The math checks out.
Yeah, it's green card advantage. Yeah. Yeah, it's 4 things. It's that we meet in a tavern, lead the stampede, and winding way. Those are the 4 avenues you have. Everything else is terrible.
It's the 4 card advantage spells in green.
Yeah.
The best card advantage is player removal.
Yeah, Rust Goliath is the 4th one.
So that's my history with green. I have a large Timmy history. I very much continued that into PDH. My 2 loves that I always come back to are Drum Hunter, 4-drop, mana dork, 2/2. At the end of your turn, if you control a creature with power 5 or greater, draw a card. It ramps you into bigger things, and it gives you card advantage so you can draw more big things to play. So you just keep playing your 5/5s, your 6/6s, and trying to run people over. Oh no, someone removed my commander. Well, I have ramp. I'll play it again. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's awesome how in PDH, like a 5/5 with trample is like an insurmountable threat for like 90% of decks.
And then kind of the other approach is Loyal Guardian, who I recently revamped, and I love like Mana Dork turn 1, Mana Dork turn 2, Loyal Guardian turn 3. Start putting +1/+1 counters on everything, and soon enough, all your Mana Dorks are like 4/4s or bigger, and you're just beating people to death with them. It is so much fun.
That card's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really great thing. Like back in the day when those came out, I remember we all took one to write an article about or talk about in some way, shape, or form. And I did Loyal Apprentice, and that was one of my favorite pieces that I've ever written about like linear aggro decks. But the stuff about Loyal Guardian was very compelling too, and that card is like insane. What it does.
Well, so your Loyal Apprentice article was very inspirational for me. Like Clay was.
Oh, thank you.
They were joking about like, oh, Derek's the personality. But I mean, like when I was getting the PDH, it really was you. Like that Loyal Apprentice article opened my eyes to the possibilities of red and PDH and really changed the way I interacted with the format.
That's awesome to hear. Thank you. It means a lot.
But in terms of green and where it is now and what it needs, so I'm with that Timmy beat people to death perspective. I'm very much coming at it from like a mid-power deck perspective, not
gorgeous. Yeah.
But every time a set comes out, I'm the person that's like, ooh, we get another this basic effect, and this is the 6th or 7th one we have access to at common, and I'm just slowly counting up. To me, 8. So like green just recently reached like the break-even point on 1 or 2 cost, like hexproof, indestructible, those kinds of protection spells.
Oh yeah, those
that are more flexible, more all-purpose than regeneration. Like it has not had the real saturation that it needed to for a long time, and we just got to minimum saturation. I'm overjoyed about that.
Minimum saturation. Love it.
Yeah. So
That's
I would love to see 2 or 3 more, and I'm sure we will over the next year and a half, 2 years. But mono green has been steadily improving by that metric since I came into the format, and my introduction with getting into article writing was talking about like around War of the Spark time period, the new cards that were coming out and how we were getting more complex creatures at common. And one of the things I remember pointing to was like larger creatures with ETB effects and dies effects and stuff like that. And like Silverback Shaman is something that I would point to as what I think green needs to be even more enjoyable in Pauper Commander is give us more of those. Like we've gotten a few Packmate, but the more we get of those, I think the more able to compete with removal green is.
So. Yeah, I think Silverback Shaman's great. In fact, it's a card that I recently put back together my Lashweed Lurker deck. I wrote an article about it years and years and years ago. I recently rebuilt it, and Silverback Shaman is great because you can attack with it, and then you emerge your Lashweed Lurker out of it, and then you draw a card, and you put something on top of your opponent's library. And
that's the Cynic Emerge Eldrazi.
Yep, it's an 8 mana 5/4. It emerges for green blue 5, and when you cast it, you can put non-land permanent on top of its owner's library. And when you emerge, you can pay for like commander attacks with that too. So like you can play things like Maul Splicer, 7 mana 1/1 makes 2 golems, and you can emerge your commander out of it for like 1 mana or whatever. It also plays Scornful Egotist, which is a classic, and kind of an eyebrow raiser, but like a really cool one. It's the 8 mana 1/1 from Scourge that morphs for a blue. But like cool, cute stuff like that. It's a really cool deck, and the Silverback Shaman, just not to get too far away from it, it's a really, really cool part of that deck.
So your original question was, where are we? What do we need? I think.
Just like where do you think it is? Where do you think it's going? What do you think it needs? Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Mid power, I think we have reached the point where when I got into the format, green was very lacking because it was similar to where red is now, where it couldn't defend its commander very well against anything other than destroy effects or combat damage. It had regenerate, and that was it. And I think we've really moved past that. We've reached minimum saturation, and the things that we do still need, we are slowly getting them. Things are getting better and will continue to do so. So I'm very happy with where green is from a mid-power perspective.
Yeah, it's good. I agree like with almost everything you said. To answer my own question, like I think it's in like a really interesting place because like I alluded to earlier, like a lot of the low-hanging fruit on the competitive end has been kind of snatched up by now. Like people are aware of the most powerful things that it's capable of, in terms of like being able to utilize the most common like combo lines and those sorts of things.
Thank you for the air
and
quotes.
auras and that kind of stuff. leveraging like Market Festival or whatever, that stuff. And like that's all well and good, but there's a lot of room, I think, that on the competitive end that's not being explored because so much of the air in the room is sucked out by those decks. Like a lot of the work that I've been doing on Heritage Druid as an aggro deck, a lot of it's like very academic and theoretical, but it is able to do things like when I've brought it to the LGS a couple times to play with people, and something I didn't really consider when I was building it is that like when you have a board of 18 elves and you're just like kind of getting stonewalled a lot of the time, and you can't really have like good attacks. Like if you're just like grinding out a game that's not favorable to the attacks that you can make, just alpha striking, and people aren't going to block your commander, and then you cast Wirewood Pride and make it a 19/19 and kill someone with commander damage. Like you can do that, and I've done that several times because people just don't think that way. Like you're going to punk them out like with commander damage with your 1/1 commander that has no abilities really in combat.
Is that it?
But like those
PDH pods.
PDH pods. I haven't played it in EDH. It's not for that. But those pump spells are awesome, and there's a ton of them. Like Chorus of Might gives +1/+1 for each creature you control, and Trample. Firewood Pride is an old one that gives plus card times equal to number of elves you have. Might of the Masses. There's more too. Aspect of Hydra, the devotion one. There's a bunch. King Harrow's Revenge, even. It's like the least impressive one. It's 3 mana. It's 3 mana sorcery, gives a creature 1/1 for each creature you control and trample, and it must be blocked. Which is good. I mean, when you're casting them, it's almost never for less than 10. So it's like a removal spell kind of. But even what I've been learning is that like, and this just speaks to like the cards that I don't think get enough attention, like cards like Taunting Elf and Shinen of Life's Roar, like the creatures that force everything to block it. It's another pump spell basically because your whole board gets through. Like Nath's Elite. So there's 3 that I'm going to be experimenting with in Heritage. Nath's Elite, Shinen, and Taunting Elf has already proven itself several times. But like it's just like this weird cornucopia of cards that people, again, like because so much of the discourse surrounding mono green on a competitive end involves combo, people aren't exploring these cards as much, and they're insanely powerful if you build to them.
Ramp. Yeah, it's almost solely based in ramp too for green.
Right. But then like at the more casual end of the spectrum, like things like Steel Seeker, which is like a very non-traditional mono green commander because it's very artifact based, but like it lets you leverage a lot of sweet things like Fangren Marauder in a really proactive way. Fangren Marauder is like one of the most busted cards that nobody's playing.
Except the pals.
Yeah, except the pals. But isn't that like every card, right? But the Steel Seeker's been the big one lately. Terravort I've been playing with a little bit, and it's been surprising how powerful that has been. And yeah, I don't know, like there's so much stuff you can do for a color that just gets kind of written off as like you have your fight spells, you have your big dumb creatures, you have your mana dorks. Like, you know, people kind of reduce it down that way a lot, but there's a lot of play to it if you're willing to kind of experiment with the effects that you want to do and the kind of goals that you have. So like I'd like to see more cards that let you get more than two, like draw two cards or more, like not necessarily like leave this, like not necessarily leave the Stampede analogs, but like I don't know, just more things to put more cards in your hand.
Like a rush of knowledge, but styled in green.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah, something that keys off like the power of your creature, draw that many cards or something. I don't know.
I feel like you're really undervaluing Bequeathal from Exodus. And especially, I feel like you're especially undervaluing the fact that Bequeathal gives Rabid Wombat +2/+2.
That's true. It does have that synergy. It is very powerful. I mean, Bequeathal is great.
Sir, are we even
magic.
talking about mono green? Yeah.
Yeah. I like Bequeathal. The thing about Bequeathal, it's like one of those things that I think you kind of like begrudgingly have to play in a lot of situations because it's like one of the only things that draws you two cards.
It's only
but like there's a lot of ways to
commander +2/+2.
That's true. That's true. This is why Wombat's the apex predator, I think.
Right. You can always just play a better commander, and then Bequeathal becomes a good card. Yeah.
But I think the lack of the lack of ways that mono green has to like refuel forces you to recontextualize how you look at card advantage. And I think that is a really useful exercise in kind of growing as a brewer, kind of recontextualizing all of these things. And like with elves, for example, like what you have your finger up. Go.
Recontextualizing how you do card advantage. Tokasia's Dig Site is the new power.
I love it.
It's I mean, it's a gift for all of us, but I think it's the most a gift for mono green.
Yep.
I apologize for the interruption.
Too.
It's also
you're absolutely right.
Measure to Relic of Progenitus. That's what I was playing with the other day. Like Relic player taps it.
Yeah.
You exile that one card in your graveyard that you're trying to get back. That's targeted with some kind of return to hand thing. And pay 3, tap, Dig Site. There's another card in there, and that's what I'm going to.
Yeah, I actually in the game that I played on stream with Saren Steel Seeker, there was one of the players was playing Malcolm and Breaches, and I was able to just kind of like mill or surveillance scry away the top of my library based on things I did not want Breaches to steal that he could cast, like that kind of stuff. It's got a lot of applications, but yeah, like recontextualizing card advantage, I think, is a really important exercise. It doesn't always just mean drawing a card. Like, I don't know. If you look at like, you know, when like a card like Taunting Elf and casting and making it a 15/15, like you're trading one card really, like that pump spell for like how many creatures of your opponents, right? Like you measure in those resources exchanged to calculate like a virtual card advantage. Like you need to look at cards in those sorts of frames.
The card advantage like calculus that I've been doing lately, this isn't just mono green. This is mono green, mono white, and green white together.
Yeah.
I've largely shifted my card advantage focus from how do I get more cards in my hand to how do I get cards that I can use more than once. So
adventures have been great for this.
Adventures like the card that blows me away every time I look at it in going back to like Sir Farron is Bannerhide Cruciak.
Oh yeah.
I love that card.
It's so versatile.
It's very modal, yeah.
No matter what you're doing with it, you're going to get to use it at least twice. And both of those methods, both of those times are going to be worth its mana. So
right, yeah, it's 2 cards in one. You're playing with like 110 card deck basically.
Yeah. And that's how I've been trying to do card advantage in mono green. Is I'm finding cards that will I'm not all that interested in like filling up my hand anymore. I just want cards that I can use more than once. Like Sprout Swarm, I think is like peak green card advantage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and this is like a great way to engage with like the card pool, and it applies to every color combination. Like really just kind of eking out as much value as you can from the cards that you choose to play. Can get you a lot of points. And I don't think people do that enough because they have such like a binary of like, does this draw me cards? Does it not draw me cards? This is card advantage. This is not. Like that kind of thing. And it's a really good habit to break.
You need to start thinking of Dread Lenorn as carded.
Yeah, that card's really powerful. And yeah, it's just about like, I guess fundamentally just being curious. Like curiosity is like the biggest asset that you have as a deck builder and brewer, and even like competitively. You can't just be like a good analytical thinker. Like you have to be a curious deck builder.
I want to parrot that what you were what I perceived you to speak to just a few moments ago about like for example what's the best one blue mana cantrip in the format?
Brainstorm.
Ponder.
I like Ponder a lot. Yeah.
We don't have
Ponder's not an instant.
Right, but what I'm saying is you're sacrificing the speed for like Brainstorm loses a lot of mileage because of the fact that you don't have the other tools that make Brainstorm so powerful in the other formats. So, but I'm proving a point here and being a little bit salacious. Context matters. So if you're building a combo deck and you want to be able to at instant speed utilize the top of your deck as some form of or part of your hand and have access to that, and, for answers or for combo or whatever, then that's going to inform your choices. If you're building a mid-range deck, a more mid-range deck or an aggro deck or what have you, your choices are going to be based on that. I would posit that in an aggro deck you'd want more of the larger draw effects because you don't necessarily want to loot or otherwise like replace your cards.
Yeah.
No matter if it's
you have to maintain velocity and momentum.
Correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, context definitely matters when it comes to the types of effects you're looking for. Brainstorm doesn't go in every blue deck. Some people would argue differently, but I have found,
Yeah. Go ahead, Paul.
The idea of not every color should just have card advantage in the form of draw a card. Like that's an interesting debate that I've seen play out a lot on the custom Magic subreddit. Like there's always you were saying like you wish green had more card advantage, and my first thought was like Rush of Knowledge based on highest CMC of
no, I think it needs cards that definitely draw more than one card. Yeah,
right.
Like not like a ton, but like maybe one or two more.
So in my head, I was thinking like, what would the green version of that look like? Like maybe it's like largest creature you control that dealt damage to a player this turn or something. But that is a debate. Like, is that within green's color pie? And that's like the people on the custom Magic subreddit are always like, they have a conservative tilt because usually and like are playing it safe with what they allow because they're trying to play within Wizards like rule set, whereas Wizards has the freedom to tweak and play.
No, they've printed stuff like that at Uncommon, like Hunter's Insight, and
right. Isn't that just Rishkar's expertise?
Yeah, exactly. But it's still a debate that constantly rages. Like, it's very central to the idea of making white good in Commander is, well, are we just going to give white card draw? That's not something that they usually do. And you see Wizards very slowly, like kind of giving in and giving white more straight card advantage over time.
Yeah. I think what will happen most likely is any more effects in this vein will come from downshifts rather than new cards. Like Gather the Pack, I think, is a good candidate for that. If you're familiar with that card, I think you dig 5, get a creature. If you have Spell Mastery, you get 2 creatures. Like that kind of stuff. Probably something like that is what I'd expect. It's really hard to like design that kind of effect a common outside of the scope of like you meet in a tavern or Leave the Stampede. Like that's a pretty tried and true kind of method. I think Leave the Stampede, or rather you meet in a tavern, is like the most pushed version of that because it's a modal spell that pumps your board.
Yeah. Like, could Distant Melody be a green spell?
No.
So I think they should go back to allied pairs and enemy pairs. Like I just brought up Pygmy Kavu. I think that's a really good example. I think that's a really good example of potentially explosive card draw in green that is limited by the by the color pie or something like that.
Yeah.
So just like the idea of can you have strict card, like actual draw a card effects in green? Like, to me, the way Wizards is going makes me think that they have no problem giving straight card draw to whatever color, as long as the trigger or the way it's flavored fits the color pie.
Yeah,
so
I think that's
maybe
fair too.
We'll get more of it.
Yeah. I mean, they gave us Track Down. I think it's a pretty respectable card in a lot of ways. Like, I think scrying is something that people undervalue a lot. Scrying 3 in a deck where you're trying to find specific cards, like in Heritage Druid, for example.
Scale the heights.
Filtering off lands. Yeah, when you don't scale the heights as well. It's tough because like cards that cantrip in Heritage Druid specifically, I found have not been very good. I like the ones that scry rather than dig, simply because you keep yourself from drawing lands. You can control the top of your library, and drawing lands is pretty disruptive. The deck only has like 22 lands in it, but
really,
I mean, when you draw one, it feels bad. maybe 20, maybe 23. Maybe I've gone up to 23, but it's never been over 23 lands in the deck because you don't need them. I don't know. I know I've talked to Clay about Heritage Druid before, but for Paul and Dave, I mean, it works like this, right? Heritage Druid just asks that you have 3 elves. So turn 1, you play a 1-drop. Turn 2, you play a 2-drop. All you need to do by turn 2 is have 2 lands and 2 1-drops, because then you can cast Heritage Druid, tap your elves, play another 3-mana spell, which can be like Master Chef, Spider Silk Armor, Timberwatch Elf, Priest Titania, any of your payoffs, and then you just kind of go from there. So really, it's just you want to play like 23 lands, 23 1-drops, and then like pump spells and things to ramp into.
So I guess here's a kind of alternate direction you could take the question is, do you think more 1-drop mana dorks would be good or bad overall for Pauper Commander?
I don't think they're necessary. I think we have a lot. I think
it'd be fine.
Because I also count like Jasper, Sentinel, Stalwart, like those cards. I think they're really undervalued as well. Particularly because
So what I'm thinking of is early game resource disparity. I very much am of the opinion that my spicy take for EDH is that Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, etc. There's like 4 or 5 mana positive rocks that don't keep themselves from untapping and don't sacrifice themselves.
Right.
I think those lead to the biggest resource disparity so early in the game, and that is a core problem and the main thing that separates C EDH from all other EDH. So to me, I worry.
I don't want to get into that debate, but go ahead. Sorry.
So that is the parallel that makes me wonder, like, more 1-drop ramp for PDH. So we have 5 right now. We have Wild Growth. Is that the 1-drop aura? And we have 4 mana dorks. So Jasperis.
Well, you got Wild Growth and Abundant Growth, or no? What's the one?
Urban. Yeah. So we have 6. 6.
Yeah, whatever.
Cards.
Yeah.
Because all the ones that require tapping other creatures, you still can't do that turn 2. It's not 3 mana on turn 2.
Sure.
Unless you have another 1-drop, but it's much more difficult to make use of.
Yeah, that's fair.
So at what point do we have enough mana acceleration in one color that's able to give them so much more tempo in the early game that it causes problems?
Well, I don't think we need any more. I think the amount that we have is plenty, to be honest. And I think, oddly enough, I definitely, I don't think we need more. It's not an effect that I think is...
The argument I'd like to posit is, even if we had 30, right, you're not going to play all 30. You're going to start delineating between the better ones.
Yeah.
Because after a while, a 1-drop on turn 10 sucks when you draw it, So yeah.
My meta recently, since I've moved the past few months, I've been in a more playing against more aggressive decks like Gut and Maja and Maha, however you pronounce it. But they're kind of made to be more aggressive, and they play every single 1-drop mana dork, and they, because of Maja's Anthem, they're much more effective, and you see the same thing in Loyal Guardian.
Yeah,
their
deck's able to leverage them better than others.
Right. So the point is, do you think we could ever reach that point? And I think you all already answered the question. No, you don't think we could have enough early game resource imbalance to.
Oh, no. I don't think we need any more 1-mana elves.
Whereas
I think they.
I'm saying that those two decks, Maja and Loyal Guardian, would absolutely play 12 1.
Oh, I'm sure they would.
Mana dorks if they could.
I'm sure they would. I don't think we have. I don't think there's any need for the design of any more of these cards. I think the amount that we have is plenty, and I don't think the format needs any more printed.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was confused. I thought
I was overriding that. Yeah, because that's the thing. I think that you're talking about two outliers, and the format could be flush with 1-drop creatures, mana accelerants, and at a certain point, people will play just like the 12 best ones, and that's it.
Right, but we aren't anywhere near 12, like what we were talking about earlier with minimum saturation of protection spells in green. In my head, we aren't to a minimum saturation of 1-drop green ramp.
Well, break out the printers, boys. Woo! Let's do it. Let's get it. Right on.
So yeah. So now did I answer my own question? I thought I did. Right?
Yeah. Now that we talked about green for we did it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to not be selfish, and I think I might defer my question to Dave, and let Emma ask his second question, unless he flushed it down the toilet.
No, it's the third one that I flushed on the toilet. I'm wondering if we all have time for another round of questions.
I can do another 30-ish minutes, maybe.
I gotta go in 10 at the absolute outside.
Lightning round.
Okay.
Lightning. Okay.
I can. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I do have a very fast question, but I think that after this one, I at least got a boogie.
Yep. It'd be a good time because today started very early.
Okay.
I mean, this will be our fourth
2 hours. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, this will be our fifth question. Didn't Clay start with a question?
Clay did start.
Yeah.
So question number 5, super fast. Of all of the intellectual properties that have nothing to do with Wizards of the Coast or Magic the Gathering at all, which would you be most excited to see get introduced as the next big Universes Beyond?
I mean,
I got my.
I'm already there.
Yeah.
We already have all the things that I kind of grew up loving, like Lord of the Rings, check. Dungeons and Dragons, more recent for me, but also check. Like the sci-fi in Magic settings, like Warhammer 40K. Like I'm a Star Wars lover, but I don't necessarily want to see that. Like that gets in the way of my version. But I mean, I'm sure other people would love it, and I mean, sure, I'd probably grab some. So I'm satisfied with the Lord of the Rings stuff coming soon.
Yeah. I'm looking over at my bookshelf to see what.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing too.
So while you're looking, I've
got 2.
Oh, you got 2.
I've got 2, but yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. You can go ahead. I'm just formulating I'm percolating.
I might be aging myself, but anybody remember the PC game Myst?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
absolutely, I do.
Of course, I remember Myst.
And reading the books, I think that would be a natural. I think that'd be a natural fit as a plane, right?
Yeah.
You have to go solve a puzzle in order to use a card. Sounds terrible.
That sounds awesome.
So yeah, that was my one.
So yeah, so for me, I mean, yeah. First of all, I love the idea of Universes Beyond because like who, when they were a 5-year-old, wasn't like drawing up, what Luke Skywalker would be as a magic card or whatever. Like it's just something that children do, and it's a lot of fun,
right?
and it's the
We all
dopest thing
love
ever.
it.
So when they make Transformers cards, it's like how could anyone not like this? Because this is exactly what everybody was doing like 20 years ago.
Mhm.
I'm
But,
really into Transformers cards.
Oh yeah, me too. But like in terms of from the perspective of just like let's burn it all down, I would choose Rocky and Bullwinkle. It's my favorite television show of all time. And it would not break my immersion to have a Bullwinkle commander deck by any stretch of the imagination, or Boris and
Okay.
Natasha partners, those sorts of things.
So-
Oh, can I change my answer? Now I want like Calvin
With a timely time bomb reprint for the Four Horsemen reference there.
Time up. But Blake has a Ravenous Squirrel deck, and his Ravenous Squirrel deck includes Game Trail Changeling, so that when he casts it, he can gesture at it and go moose and squirrel.
Exactly. See, it doesn't get any better than that. That's peak
It
magic
doesn't.
right there. It's already in the game.
He's
Yeah.
won Magic. It's like it's not even worth playing against him anymore because he's like
See, it's already part of Magic the Gathering universe. So just codify it. Make it an official product. Sell it to me. I'll
Exactly.
buy it.
that's exactly correct.
And that's not even. And you also have like the Mr. Peabody and Sherman stuff. You got all the little all that stuff too. All the little side cartoons, all that.
Yeah, like Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry.
Hanna-Barbera
Oh, hell yeah.
universe.
Ooh, Hanna-Barbera universe is dope. Yeah, I'm into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see a Magic card that represents someone just like conjuring a hammer out of nothing, like a big like cartoonish mallet, right?
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm seeing an altar of Wilson that is Yogi.
yeah, he's smarter
that.
than the average bear.
Yep.
He's so refined.
You could even just do like the reskins, like have a Magilla Gorilla, Kogla the Titan Ape, or something like
Oh, yeah.
that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Honestly,
I would
like
Just sell it to me.
I would buy it.
the mechanically unique cards, I'm not a huge fan of, but
Yeah.
the way they did the Godzilla ones,
Yeah.
I'm completely
Mhm.
on board with that. I would love
Yeah.
to see that.
Yeah, honestly, I like it all. Give me mechanically unique cards. All the Transformer stuff has been like a real treat to try and like brew decks around for Commander. They're all really interesting, a really great design space, really cool stuff. I mean, granted, like when you sell it exclusively through Secret Lair, like the Walking Dead stuff, like that raises some eyebrows for me. But I think those cards are individually pretty cool. I mean, IP aside, like it's pretty cool designs that they came up with. I like the cards themselves. But yeah, I mean, I'm good for it either way. However they want to sell it to me, I'll buy it and just put Rocky and Bullwinkle on it.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah.
That's a very good answer. I like that.
Oh, sweet. Well, I think
Yeah.
we can. This was everything that I had hoped it would be. You guys
was a good
did
chat.
not. Yeah, you guys did not disappoint. Sorry, I had to switch my mic because I had this weird like feedback thing going on, and I was like, so I had to fix my mic. Hopefully, it doesn't come through on the recording. But then I also had
Right.
these periods of eating food, so
Or you be
sorry. Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry for that.
Yeah, why not?
I'm only human. I gotta process the calories, that sort of thing. But like, no, this was an evening with friends. We learned.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we learned. Well, I probably overshared in some of my stuff, but I've had a habit of that today.
It's okay. It happens.
So yeah, this is good. Now, I think I know what everybody else is doing. Derek is writing an article, like right now
Hey, I'm
as
gonna
we
write
speak.
something.
No
I'm gonna write up a
accountability,
thing
no.
about. No, I'm planning on just writing something up about just the big perks of the card pool, and
Oh, okay.
comprehensively everything I can think of about why the card pool is great and things why it's different and why it's exciting and what you can brew with it and why it's a good place to explore if you are not someone that's used to exploring something with this kind of restriction. So I'm shooting for it to come out kind of mid-February or so.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
Paul, we're gonna let Paul self-elect what he's gonna be on the hook for.
Oh no.
Right now, 3, 2, 1.
I have 23 deck lists that I just moved from my phone onto Cockatrice, and I need to test the crap out of those. So that's a thing. And then I have another 15 that are still in my to brew folder. I am still catching up from like all the Dominaria legends, like Rurik Mons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I need to get those onto Moxfield with write-ups, and I want to get at
Very
least
nice.
like 4 of those in January.
I designed like 4 decks in the last week. I just like I caught this bug and I was just like going. My mind was into it. So like I get that. I don't.
For me, it's been airplane trips. Like ever since like the beginning of December. I've been on like 4 different cross country or international flights. So I've been doing a lot of brewing while I had no internet.
I brewed 1 deck lately. It's this one. Sorcerer's Broom.
Oh, Sorcerer's Broom. Yeah.
But can you?
It's the coolest card ever made. Clay, are you familiar with this card?
I saw it on the Twitters the other day.
It's a 2/1 for 2, and whenever you sacrifice another permanent, you can pay 3 and make a copy of it. So you just make a lot of little brooms, and you're Mickey Mouse basically, doing the housework in Fantasia. It's awesome.
What was the other card that was paired with that in that Twitter thread? It was another artifact.
I don't know.
And it was like a stacks piece. I can't remember what it was.
It's something that Fintorn Brownie was making. The rug, the Baldur's Gate
rug.
that whenever you cast a spell, you take damage.
I wish that thing was white. I wish it was anything other than colorless.
Colorless is sweet. I like it.
And then, okay, so what are you going to do with those decks, Paul?
I just want to get them written up and onto Moxfield. Like I have my Cockatrice folder is at 240 something decks that are in Cockatrice, and I think I've only gotten 20 some onto Moxfield. So and that disparity just keeps growing, and I need to work on that a little.
So you hear that, folks? He'll have it done by next week. Good job, Paul.
This month. Yeah, this month.
Right on. And then Dave has a podcast that he co-hosts. You may have heard of it.
We had a really exciting guest this afternoon. It's fun to talk to him. Don't remember his name anymore.
Yeah.
I spent 2 hours talking to Clay this afternoon for the podcast. Now I got another 2 hours. We're just going back to back with me and Clay. It's been
one of us is going to move in at some point in time. Just don't know how that's going to work.
Exciting.
Yeah, we're still working on the logistics of the moving plan, but it's definitely
Mazel tov.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been threatening to write a PALS meta article for months now.
That'll be good.
I'm eventually gonna finish that, and so yeah, my to-do list is like just a mix of all 3 of yours. I'm gonna make some content like Clay. I'm gonna write an article. I've got a bunch of decks I need to put together and do write-ups for. Like they're on Moxfield, but there's nothing written for them, so I need to flush that out. So yeah, lots to do.
Good luck,
but
buddy.
Not tonight.
Not tonight.
Sleep, because I've been doing things nonstop.
I'm gonna go upstairs and use the restroom, and then get horizontal with my eyes closed. Yeah.
There you go.
This is the master plan.
Right on.
From the master man.
And this is nice. I don't even have to explain. Like these guys out here in the interwebs, they know what I'm doing. Yeah. So Discord, YouTube's. My goal this year is to get more recorded series. Ryan's more the live guy. I don't mind the live stuff, but
he's been churning it out.
Bruh. Yeah. So that's a good partnership. So yeah, this should be out. Well, that's right. Dave, your podcast comes out Friday morning or afternoon.
Usually.
Okay.
I just talk into a mic and then Brad does the rest. I'm very
no doubt.
Yeah.
So this will probably be out on the same day as that. So
that's perfect. We record together and then we release together. This is ideal.
So now, as a sneak peek for this Friday, for those of you who are making it to the very end of the video here, you'll get a 2-day head start. Well, more than that, because Plant, aka Who the Hell, another RC member, doing an interview with him on Friday. That'll come out next Wednesday. So if you're here at the end of this video, you have the special preview. Your patience is rewarded. I wouldn't say that Plant's hard to get. Well, nobody's been.
He's German, right?
Yeah. Well, or Italian. One. I'm not sure exactly. I'll know as soon as I hear him
somewhere.
speak. Yeah. So I don't know. It's it warms my heart, and thanks to all of you, by the way. It warms my heart that like when I asked, unequivocally, like I've seen the work.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of this, that sort of thing. So
Good.
If it weren't for you, right, laying the groundwork for me. So we've got some harder guests to try to score from the RC later this year. Fingers crossed. So
yeah, fingers crossed.
So all right,
I want to see Pod on one of these.
I asked
Hell
him.
yeah.
I asked him. He
Ask
declined.
Ask him again and tell him Dave says please.
Yeah. So actually, I'm going to say everybody here says please, right? Please.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll recall him from the rules committee.
I want another vote.
Like,
are we allowed to do that?
I mean,
mean,
Pod is
not
already
yet. I don't know.
He's already so forward facing on Facebook. That's interesting to me. Like how the kind of exposure he has, honestly, has been one of the things that has slowly pulled me out of my
Yep.
anonymity over the years.
Mhm.
So
I had no idea he was active on Facebook.
Yeah.
oh
that's
yeah,
good.
like go click on the Facebook link
I won't.
on the website.
No. I'll trust you.
Refuse, yeah.
Bless you. Bless you, my son.
You don't have to have an account of you.
I don't care.
Screw Zuckerberg.
Just staying
They
away,
have
that's
been-
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Righteous. Okay.
I'm all set.
So it is bedtime. I love each and every one of you. This is awesome.
Same.
This is
Mwah.
awesome.
Mwah.
So this is going to be one big ass year, and we're going to kill it. So
Yeah, big one.
all right. Till the next time,
Happy
boys.
New
Yeah.
Year.
Take care. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Deal.
Wonderful.
Good night, gentlemen.
I'm doing my part. The famous PDH GIF.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part. Yeah. The official
All right.
GIF of the PDH community.
Ah, you
Perfect.
knuckleheads. All right.